Hi everyone. I'm sure you've heard the saying, the USA is the land of opportunity. Is it really so? Most Americans have a very rosy view of their country's position in the world, but there are many aspects that no American can be proud of. But before we get started, subscribe to our channel, give us a like and post the video on social media. Today we are going to tell you 9 inconvenient facts about the US, unique to America, that are actually true. Fact 1. Most Americans are up to their eyeballs in debt. In the United States, it's been common for years to pay for almost everything with a credit card, but credit card use elsewhere around the world hasn't been as widespread. For example, until a decade ago, you couldn't pay with them for a large purchase in various European and Asian countries. For Americans, financial experts say, credit and debt are simply a way of life. Much of American culture is capitalist consumer markets, which means Americans like to buy things, and they often do so using some form of credit. Why wait to buy a new computer when you can pay it off with some interest over the next 5 years? The main reason this is not a good idea has to do with debt accumulation. Americans buy one thing, then another, and before they even realize what they've done, they owe an average of $38,000. Bottom line, Americans are drowning in debt, and the problem itself is getting worse over time. Second fact, and this is a really serious problem, homelessness. Having homeless people is a serious problem around the world, and while you may encounter it in developed countries like the United Kingdom and France, the United States has a much larger percentage of people forced to live on the streets for whatever reason. As of 2018, about 0.17% of the American population didn't own a home, and while that doesn't seem like a large number, it actually amounts to more than 553,000 people. And in 2023, preliminary estimates show that the number of homeless people increased by 11% and is now over 577,000. The Wall Street Journal notes that the numbers could change after the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development submits its final annual report. The states with the largest homeless populations are California, New York, Florida, Washington, Oregon, and Texas. The most obvious question: if the United States is the richest country in the world, why are there so many homeless people here? The state's complex economy offers no easy answer, but there is an obvious disparity between the wealthiest people and the people who have nothing. Fact number 3. The nation's infrastructure is crumbling. For example, the U.S. lags behind many other countries in terms of internet download speeds. The main reason for the poor internet in the U.S. is due to the cost of overhauling the telecommunications infrastructure, but this is not the only part of the U.S. infrastructure that is not in the best condition. Fact 4. The U.S. has the largest prison population in the world. This statistic is widely known, but probably most Americans are unaware of how bad the prison system in the country is. The U.S. has more incarcerated people than any other sphere on the planet. Interesting fact: for every 100,000 citizens, there are 668 people who are in prison. For comparison, in Russia it is 300 per 100,000. This number becomes even more of a problem when you consider the total prison population in the States, which is about 2.2 million. Prisons are overcrowded. However, prison overcrowding is just one of the many problems facing incarcerated Americans. Another major problem is the fact that over 21% of prisoners have not been convicted of a crime. If a person cannot afford to post bail, they must remain in jail until they are convicted, even if they are eventually acquitted. This essentially means that since everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Fact number 5. The nation's healthcare problems. One of the biggest problems facing the United States is the healthcare system. People pay thousands of dollars just walking into the emergency room without receiving treatment. In terms of rankings, the United States is at the top of the list in terms of healthcare costs, and without some serious government reform in all areas of insurance, billing, prescription drug costs, and long-term care, this will only get worse. The U.S. is a country where a person can go bankrupt and lose all of their life savings by getting sick, and it happens all the time. The term, medical bankruptcy, has become commonplace, and 66.5% of all bankruptcies are the result of medical expenses. Fact number 6. The United States has refused to ratify some recognized international treaties. You might think that the United States ratified the treaty that ended the Korean War, but in fact, the powers that be have not ratified it to this day. The truth about America and treaties is that our country rarely ratifies them. Native Americans know this all too well, but broken treaties are not just a domestic problem. The most recent examples of this include the Paris Climate Agreement. Fact number 7. Child welfare in the U.S. is declining. Everyone cares about the well-being of children, and no one wants to see the next generation suffer. But children in America are not living as well as you might expect. There are a number of problems in areas such as literacy, healthcare, and science and technology education. While many of these problems also affect adults in the States, the threat to the younger population is significantly more alarming. The United States ranks 10th in literacy rates. Another significant issue affecting children in the United States has to do with how the country treats so-called illegal immigrants. For example, the Trump administration once decreed that migrants would be denied flu shots, which could lead to a widespread epidemic. Even more problematic is the country's family separation policy, which has sparked widespread outrage. Currently, no one knows how many children have been separated from their families, where their parents are, or how authorities plan to reunite those families. Fact number 8. The American press is not as free as many people think. Freedom of the press is a basic principle of American freedom that was enshrined in law. The right of the people to freely report on their government, whether the opinion is positive or negative, is paramount to a free and just society, but these freedoms have steadily declined over the years. Today, the U.S. ranks 57th out of 179. The main reason is the actions of the president. The rating has dropped to a point on the scale where he describes his treatment of journalists as problematic. This ranking was based on the president's hostility toward journalists, cutting back on White House briefings, banning several journalists who were asking questions or reporting the news. And concludes our video with fact number 9. Equal rights for women and men have yet to fully manifest themselves. People in our country face several serious problems related to gender inequality. The government is not doing enough to reduce inequality. Currently, the U.S. is only ranked 46th on this indicator. The average wage gap shows that a woman who works the same job as a man earns $1 less. The Equal Rights Amendment was passed in the U.S. back in 1923, but it has yet to be ratified in 38 states. The 2019 election has brought Democratic control of the legislative and executive branches in this state, which suggests that there will be no partisan obstacles if the amendment comes up for ratification. Guys, if you liked our video and you haven't subscribed to us yet, then subscribe now and post the video on social media. There will be more to come in the next episodes. See you soon. Bye.